What's going on, everybody? Big Dawg Brett. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you guys being here. Today we're going to talk about the 2020 spring game schedule. Kind of give you guys a breakdown real quick of the upcoming games. College football is practically upon us as far as the spring games go. So I wanted to give you guys a quick little reference video that you guys could pull up with the teams that most people are probably interested in. So without further ado, we're going to kind of jump into it here. The first game over on FBS or FB schedules, however you want to look at it, is in a couple of days with Portland State, 1 p.m. If you're really jonesing for some college football, this is your first opportunity to get in on the ground floor. Then you have to wait 5 more days. And then you get Arkansas State March 19th. Then on Friday, you get Houston Baptist's practice. So far, none of these are actually televised. You don't get to any televised games until you get to March 26th. But if you can find a stream somewhere on some forum, you might be able to watch these. But in order to get to anything that's actually watchable, you're going to have to wait until March 26th. Once you get to March 26th at 7 p.m. and on a Thursday night on ESPN Plus, you can watch Kennesaw State. So the earliest out of the gate you're going to get here is, I thought I spilled my coffee for a second. The closest you're going to get here is going to be Kennesaw State, 7 p.m. on March 26th on ESPN Plus. Then I was kind of surprised. I saw a couple of teams coming up on Saturday on March 28th. I figured after we saw the March 26th Thursday game actually be televised, I kind of thought that some of these other names that I'm going to read off here in just a minute would have been televised. But for some reason they're not, or maybe it's just not announced yet. But I don't see anything. Please excuse my summer and spring allergies. As usual, I'm on my Zyrtec regimen, and as you can see, it is working phenomenally. So Western Michigan, not the biggest known team out there, but Saturday 10 a.m. that's their spring game. Tulane 11 a.m. same day. And then these next 3 teams here I really thought would have been some kind of televised, especially with the way people love to watch college football. BYU, TCU, and Florida A&M. I just don't understand why that didn't happen. People would have probably tuned in to watch these games, no problem, especially TCU. Texas football has a huge following, whether it is college football, pro football, any of the teams, they have a pretty good following. So, okay. Then just a few more teams play. Prairie View A&M, which I've never even heard of that team. I don't think. San Jose State, and then Arizona State at 10 p.m. at night in Pac-12. On the Pac-12 AZ is where you can find that game. If you're like me and you live on the East Coast, I'm not staying up till 10 o'clock at night to watch Arizona play their spring game. It's not going to happen. I would guess on the Pacific time, it's probably, I think, 7 o'clock or whatever, but still, that's really late for a spring game. Just kind of weird. I don't know why you would want to have a night game for a spring game, but anyway. And that having been said, we'll jump over about 5 more days here, and you're going to end up on April 3rd, Friday. You get Georgia Southern, Georgia State, and then you get the first SEC team of the year, which is Vanderbilt, which barely qualifies as an SEC team, but they do. They're playing at 8 p.m. at night, Eastern Standard Time, on the SEC network. I don't even think I'm going to be able to watch this. It's ridiculously late for a spring game. And then once you get the Saturday the 4th, you really kind of start to see the networks come online as far as getting involved in the football. And we still haven't really gotten to the more popular teams. There's a few popular teams thrown in here, but there is a boatload of games on April 4th. So right out of the gate, Saturday morning, get up, get your coffee, go turn on the television, eat your breakfast, whatever. And then at 10 a.m., you get to watch Duke on the ACC network. Now we're talking some football. Duke football. Then about the time that's going to wrap up, Boston College is going to be coming on at 12. Minnesota is at 12. And NC State's at 12. Boston College is on the ACC NX. Minnesota, it's to be announced on what TV or station they're going to be playing on. North Carolina State's going to be on at 12:30. Weird. On the ACC network. So, and then you got a bunch of other really kind of no-name teams. And then you run across the second SEC team of the year. South Carolina on the SEC Network Plus. They're playing at 1 p.m. This is an appropriate time frame for a college football game to be played on a Saturday. I'm good with about 3 o'clock. Between 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock, I'm good. After that, you're pushing it. Because while it is college football, it's still only a spring game. And some of these guys play their games really weird. Some of these guys play like touch football, flag football, have their own rules. Coaches stand in the middle of the field. They decide which penalties to enforce or not to enforce. They kind of tell the referees what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and the referees just kind of hang out. So we'll see what happens with South Carolina. I'm interested in watching that game. I want to see what they're doing on offense and on what their kind of what their new scheme is, if they've changed anything. Then you jump down. Purdue is at 2 p.m. Nobody's going to watch that because everybody's going to be watching the 2:30 game, which is Clemson on the ACC network. So when you see Clemson, this is the first big team as far as, you know, the elite teams that you're going to be looking at for potential for college football playoff material. This is the first team that you're going to see pop on this list. And again, that is April 4th at 2:30 p.m. This is going to be right in the middle of the day. Sun's pretty much going to be straight up. It's going to be just, as long as the sun's out and it's nice, it's going to be a gorgeous day. UCF plays at 2:30, but they're not listed on a network for those of you who are UCF fans. And you got Wake Forest on in here, also not on a channel. But then Arizona is playing at 8 p.m. at night, which I get, you know, it's 5 p.m. out there, whatever. Pac-12, AZ, whatever you want to call it. So, oh man, again, I apologize. This allergy is kicking in hardcore, so I know spring is here. Thursday, April 9th, Colorado State is playing. I think there's a reason why you might want to watch that game, but it's to be announced. So we don't know if it's even going to be, we don't even know what time it's going to be played. We also don't know what channel it's going to be on. Friday, April 10th, you get North Dakota, Texas Tech, and then Georgia Tech on the ACC network. Texas Tech, which is another Texas team, obviously, is playing at 7 p.m. at night to be announced on television. I'm sure they will find a spot for those guys. Again, Texas football teams have a huge following. If you don't believe me, just trash talk any Texas team. Texas fans will find your channel, come out of the woodwork, and berate you for being retarded, whatever you want to call it. So then you got Montana, you got Toledo, and then April 11th. Okay, so April 11th is a Saturday. So I'm going to go over and kick over to the other screen here. So I've kind of slimmed this list down so you can kind of see what's playing on April 11th. While Clemson was the first like real prominent team, I would say, to play, you got a couple of SEC teams thrown in there, some other teams that have had, you know, recognition over the years. If you kick over to April 11th, this is the teams that you really see kind of start rocking the lineup. You get Kentucky at 12 p.m. You know, no morning games this day. They're all noon games and after. So they're on the SEC Network Plus. Ohio State, I'm sure they're going to find a spot on television to play that game. Mississippi State, I'm interested to see what they're going to do. They're on the SEC Network Plus. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, though, because both of these are listed as on the SEC Network Plus, but one's at 12, one's at 12:30. I know Kentucky's not expected to be a great team, but I would expect their spring game to take longer than 30 minutes. So we'll see what happens there. Utah Is also playing. UTEP is playing. Nobody cares about watching that. And then Ohio, if you care about Ohio, not Ohio State, Ohio, there are some fans of the channel that like Ohio. They're playing at 125. I wanted to include that for that specific reason. A 125 kickoff. I'm not sure why, but there's a 125 kickoff for a team this year. Then, of course, we get into the SEC again with Auburn, 2 p.m. on the ESPN2. Now, you'll notice, if I kind of scroll back here, which you can't see what I'm doing on the other screen, but Kennesaw State is on ESPN Plus. But I thought it kind of prevalent to note that this is the first team that's on ESPN2, which is probably more of a little more common of a channel than what you're going to find like SEC Network Plus. Then you've got Missouri at SEC on the SEC Network. I do want to watch the Auburn game. I want to see how they play. USC is at 3 o'clock. I'm probably going to look in on that. And then you've got Stanford and you've got Pitt. Pitt on the ACC Network at 5 p.m. And then you've got California, which you guys can't see here, playing at 12. And then Miami is to be announced. We don't know what they're doing. Now, the Miami of Florida, which is why they put the FL here, is not to be confused with the Miami of Ohio, which is way earlier in the season. Let me find that real quick. I'll tell you the actual day that's on. Not that anybody's a big fan of that team. Never mind, can't find it, don't care. Then you jump over to Tuesday, April 14th. Towson. It's not Townsend. 6 p.m. April 14th, not televised. Jacksonville State, not televised. Stetson to be announced. Indiana, 7 p.m. to be announced. That could potentially be an interesting game. Comes on Friday night. Might be worth throwing on, making some nachos or something, and just hanging out with some friends with football in the background. Army's playing, Kansas State's playing. Those times are to be announced. Memphis is playing 8 o'clock. And then we jump over to April the 18th. So on April the 18th, you end up with some pretty prominent teams here. This is kind of the guts of the whole thing here. So you get there's a bunch of teams here I'm not going to talk about. I mean, there's probably 30 or 40 football games being played this day, with probably 20 of them being televised. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of roll through the list here. Wisconsin, which hasn't had a TV presence announced, but I'm sure it's going to be on a channel. Notre Dame coming on at 12:30 on the NBC Sports Network. And you've got Baylor, which is going to be coming on at the 30 minutes after that. Florida, as you can see, I guess I must have missed putting them up here. I apologize. Well, not really. I do apologize to the next team that I did accidentally leave off the list. But Florida's coming on 1 p.m. on the SEC Network. Obviously, I'm going to be tuned into that game while I'm at the stadium in Athens. LSU at 1 p.m. is on the ESPN2 network. I apologize for leaving the LSU guys off there. That was an unintentional error. Oh, Miami of Ohio plays at 1:30 on this day. That's where I saw that earlier. And you've got Penn State that comes on at 1:30. You've got on the Fox Sports 1. Then you've got Alabama and Georgia. Again, another one of the SEC Network Plus things. Both of them at 2 p.m. For those of you who like to see pain and suffering, you can watch Nebraska's game at 2 p.m. We'll see what happens with those guys. North Carolina, also not on my little clip it here, but they play at 3 p.m. on the ACC Network. Oregon State, if you're interested in watching those guys, they play at 3 p.m. Virginia Tech, 3:30 ACC Network. And it says 10 p.m. next to it, so I don't know if that's going to be a rebroadcast or what's going on with that. Michigan State plays at 4 p.m. on that day. Tennessee also at 4 p.m., which they are on the network. They are on the list here. SEC Network. Florida State plays at 5. I'm kind of interested to see what's going to happen there. Oregon, I'm very interested to see what's going to happen here. 5 p.m. Pac-12 Network. If you're in Oregon, I guess. Oklahoma plays at 6 p.m. Texas A&M plays at 7. And then Ole Miss plays at 7:30. Oklahoma State, Kansas, those are in West Virginia, or UCLA, USF, and Syracuse are all to be announced. From there, the next Saturday is really only a couple of teams on here. You're going to be looking at Arkansas. You're going to be looking at Arkansas is at 12:05 on the SEC network. You got Southern Miss if you want to watch it at 1 p.m., but no channel listed yet. Washington State, 3 p.m. Pac-12 network in Washington. If you're in Washington, you got Rutgers, Wyoming, Washington at 6 p.m. Texas, Longhorn Network. If you have the Longhorn Network, I don't see how they can afford to keep it open with the way their football program is being played here lately. I get that, you know, they had a good season one or two seasons ago, whatever it was. But I just don't see how you can have that Longhorn Network be able to support just one team. It's just, especially with the record that they're throwing out there. So 7 p.m. Longhorn Network, if that's your jam. Then you got Hawaii to be announced, UMass to be announced. May 1st is Marist, 6 p.m., not televised, and then Indiana State to be announced. That's going to be the last spring game of the season so far listed. May 2nd, 2020. You may have noticed that I didn't mention Michigan on this list. And that's because they have canceled their spring game, apparently due to concerns of COVID-19. So, interesting, but to cancel a game that far out. So here we are, not even halfway through March, and then you've got April and the beginning of May. So they're that concerned they've canceled the game that far out. So may prove to be a smart move, may prove to just be a waste of time. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Well, guys, that's going to be the list for spring games today. It's going to be interesting to kind of see how things pan out. We've got some new quarterbacks in the mix. We've got some veteran quarterbacks that are going to be coming back, some teams that have added some new coaches, and teams that are implementing new play styles. For teams like LSU, there's going to be big changes that are made because they've got new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, and new quarterback. So we'll see how that pans out. Of course, Georgia's going to have a new quarterback, new offensive coordinator. We'll see how that goes. Florida's got Dan Mullen talking up a storm. Tim Brewster is talking a whole bunch of smack about Georgia recruiting in Florida. There's a lot of stuff going on. I know it's the offseason, but still a lot of stuff going on. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. By the way, if you've made it this far in the video, do me a favor, hit the like, subscribe, thumbs up button, mainly the thumbs up. And the share button help the channel a lot. Please leave a comment of what's going to be your favorite spring game this year. You know what mine is. So I also want to give another shout out to Bruce Hucks. He hit me up and let me know that Dave Roten is going to be featuring this piece on his channel. It's D-A-V-E, last name Roten, R-H-O-T-E-N. Go over there and check him out, guys. Does a lot of interesting stuff over there. We really appreciate the support here on the channel. If you want to support us, help support them. No big deal. It takes just a second to hit thumbs up, guys. Really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, share. And I look forward to talking to you guys soon. So you guys have a great day. God bless. Go Dogs.